So today I want to go through the code for not just the code, but the actual application of building a server using X402. I know not everyone in the room is going to be a developer, so I'm going to just go through the main points of the code and what's required to actually sell services to the machines. Then we're going to do a live end-to-end demo of how that actually works in practice. So if we go into the server first, this is 30 lines of code. And this is essentially an entire server that we can use to sell data to agentic AI systems. In this case, we're setting up a local host server at this URL, this secret URL, and that's going to provide a secret number. So to get that, you're going to have to pay a price. This is premium content, if you like. And the price is zero point 0.01, and that's set to USDC as default. We're using the Stellar pubnet. That's the same as the mainnet, or we're using real funds for this. And we've got a payment address. One little gotcha on the Stellar network is that when you set up a payment address, you have to actually set up a trust line for USDC. You have to approve USDC to come into your wallet. So it's always best to send like 0.1 or a tiny amount of USDC through to that wallet first, so you can check that it's actually able to receive payments. So we've got the address in there, we've got the price, we've got the facilitator. We're using Open Zeppelin's kind of facilitator, which is a relayer, which sponsors the transactions. It's quite interesting itself because by having sponsored transactions, you can actually move funds around, or agents can move funds around free of charge. And I don't know if there's been a time in history before where agents or anything can actually move money at scale without incurring costs. So that's a new paradigm, if you like. We're going to have this middleware, which looks confusing, but basically what we're doing is we're saying you've got to make this payment. If you want this premium content, you've got to make a payment for this amount, and then we'll send you the content. The way X402 works is it actually refuses the initial request. So if you request this URL, we can copy this into a browser. Let's go ahead and start the server. So if you want to run this code yourself, it's all open source on GitHub. And to start the server, we're just going to use Node.js to run that JavaScript file, this single file, and that's going to create this command line server, if you like. I'll take a few seconds to start up. And then when it has, we can load this local host into a web browser. Obviously, if you can do this in production, you need a domain name and an external server. So you need somewhere to actually host this externally so anyone in the world can connect to it. Let's go and refresh this. You can see we've got this payment required paywall. This is half a paywall, if you like. There are more advanced human-facing methods of doing this. So if you do actually want to sell services to humans using X402, you can actually style this up and connect Freighter to it and do all sorts of different other things to make this look pretty. In this case, we're only going to be using it for agentic payments. So this is fine for our use case. So with that code, that creates that server. That's all we need to sell the services to the machines. The next stage is setting up a client to actually make purchases. So to do this, we're going to use a couple of commands. We're going to use an MCP server. MCP it was originally designed by Anthropic, the creators of Claude Code, but it's a kind of industry standard to bolt on third-party tooling to a agentic AI system. So I'm actually going to run this command, but this is how you do it. This is my own MCP server. There are other options available, but we're going to basically clone it off GitHub. It's open source code again. We're going to CD into that, and then we're going to npm install. It'll take a few minutes to do, so we're going to skip that step, and I've already done it. We're then going to add to Codex that tool. So we're going to go Codex MCP add X402 Stellar and pass in a few variables. And that will add the MCP server to our agentic AI client, which in this case is Codex, which we can then start up without permissions. So Codex is going to start up. It's going to load them MCP servers. That'll take a couple of seconds just to get that going. And once it has, it's actually got the ability and it knows how to use that MCP server to make payments. Now we're using a hot wallet for this. That's not the most secure way of doing things, but for kind of agentic payments, you need a way for the agent to actually access funds. And to do that, we've added a secret key to a .m file, and the MCP server can read that environmental variable and use that to access the funds of that wallet and make the payment. We go MCP within Codex, it'll load up the MCP inventory, and we should see in that list the Stellar X402 or X402 Stellar MCP server loaded. When that's done, we can use this command here, or this query. You can see that X402 Stellar, it's all set up and it's ready. Let's go ahead and ask it to go and fetch some information. So we're going to ask Codex to use the X402 MCP server to fetch the secret number using the paid X402 request and we've pasted in the localhost 333 secret address. Output the secret number once you have paid for the request and received the information. So this is an example of doing an autonomous request. We're giving the machine or the AI system quite a lot of information here. We're telling it what to do. We haven't set any pricing or budget data, but that's something you probably want to consider in production. You don't want it to execute at any cost. And you probably also want to be very careful about setting budgets per query. So it would have initially queried this URL and it would have come back with 402 payment required. It's then sent a payment using the MCP server and the Stellar network. We can see the transaction ID for that here. If we paste this into a block explorer, we should be able to see the 0.01 USD. You can see going from my account to the account of the server. So this is this GA4D address is the server address we set up here. So we're essentially paying for the service. And what comes back to us in the AI system is the secret number, which we're delivering as our premium content here. So that's a quick end-to-end demo of how this works, how agentic payments work, and how simple they can be. We've set up a server with 30 lines of code. We've added an MCP server to Claude to go out and buy it. And we've done that in less than 10 minutes. So I hope this has been useful and it's given you the foundation knowledge of how all this works. And if you have any questions, then please don't hesitate to ask.